listening to Keith Sports News. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. All right, welcome to KSN episode 5 in 2025. That's right. It is the first episode in 2025. I guess you can say, yeah, where we really talk about the sports calendar year of 2025. Man, so the last 4 episodes were basically me talking about sports talk related. I did an episode where I talk about my favorite sports leagues. I did another episode where I talk about my favorite sports podcasts. And the last episode I did, which was an hour long, I talked about my favorite sports championship games per year from 2013 to last year, 2024. All right. And I also, well, it's really my 2 favorites. That's why the episode was so much longer. So, yeah. And now here we are. Perfect. New year. Here we are. So, yeah. From time to time, once in a while, you'll get a much longer episode. But most of my episodes, as of now, will be around 30 minutes. Okay? All right. So, I hope everyone had a great, happy, and safe New Year, but I can't speak for everyone because I'm sure you guys all heard the news. The very sad and tragic news in the city of New Orleans. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this, but if not, I'll say it. I live only an hour and 15 minutes away from New Orleans. You know, I live in the capital city of Louisiana. Okay? So, you know, it's LSU, Tigers, you know, New Orleans, home of the Saints and Pelicans. The Allstate Sugar Bowl just ended not too long ago. That's why I waited to do this episode after the game ended. It's kind of weird to start off 2025. It's very weird. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you guys have all heard the news by now. The very tragic event on Bourbon Street. I usually play music in the background, but I'm not gonna. No music tonight. I can't. I can't play music. I don't want to play any sad music, so it's just me going old school, talking. But that's okay. Yeah, like I said, I only live like an hour away from New Orleans. You know, it's. I'll tell you how I found out the news. Okay. First of all, how was my New Year's? My New Year's was great, and I have a main channel where I do vlogging and gaming, okay? So, by the time you see this episode, I just released, or last night, I released my New Year's video, my New Year's vlog, okay? And if you're watching this video, if you can see behind me on the pool table, there's calendars on the pool table. That is a video that I'm currently doing where I show you all my calendars from the past 15 years. Yeah, we would keep our calendars. And if you have calendars, you should keep them. And you just, whenever it's a new year, go look at your previous calendars and be like, oh, yeah, I remember this year. It was this one. Yeah, I was right. That's kind of what I'm doing back there. And you can see a camera right there. And my digital camera, that's really my vlogging camera. I was using that camera, and after a while, the camera got too hot, so it needed a break. So while I'm giving it a break, I am doing this episode of KSN. All right, so yes, I got no hat on. This is what I look like without a hat. In case if you don't know, I'm sure y'all know if you watch my main channel. So the shirt that I'm wearing is my Dr. Pepper shirt. It is my favorite soda, and college football is you know Dr. Pepper's a big sponsor of college football, and it's also you know around New Year's, the big bowl games, the playoff games. I'll get into that later, but I want to start off with the very sad news to kick off 2025. Okay, let me get back to my New Year's. My New Year's went well, okay? And I actually went out. I went out to a party. I haven't done that in 10 years where I went out to a party. The past 10 years, or from 2014 to, 2015 to 2023 or so, the entire night, it would be here. Just stay at the house. 2024 New Year's Eve, I actually went out to a party, but I didn't stay there until midnight. We stayed from 8 to 10, 2 hours. And it was about a 30-minute drive, and the traffic was not bad at all. Came back home. It was like 10:45, and then if you watch my main channel, I went live for American Truck Simulator, which is my favorite PC game. So, and when it's about to hit midnight, I went outside that door to record the fireworks. Thanks to my neighbors, they shot a lot of fireworks. So yeah, it was a happy New Year for me. And I usually stay up all night for New Year's because I don't have work on New Year's Day. And New Year's Day was the 3 playoff games. Well, it was supposed to be 3, but instead it was 2. Okay? And then I woke up. I had the game on, the first game, which was the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between Texas and Arizona State. And I heard the announcer, Joe Tessitore. What a voice. He has a great voice. And he is the voice of Monday Night Raw, premiering on Netflix. January 6th, the first episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Sorry if I sound like I'm all over the place. Sometimes it's like that. But Joe Tessitore said, tonight's All-State Sugar Bowl has been postponed due to the tragic event in New Orleans on Bourbon Street. And I'm like, what? What the hell happened? So the game was almost over, the Peach Bowl. And while I was listening / watching the game, I was on my computer and just searching on what happened in New Orleans on New Year's Day. And then I read Wikipedia has an article, and I read that article, and that's when I found out what happened. I'm like, wow. My reaction was like, I was just like shaking my head, like, just a blank stare, a blank face, because then I watched some YouTuber that I'm subscribed to. His name it's called Jamal, aka Jamel. He used to do music reaction videos, but now he doesn't do them anymore due to the very strict copyright on YouTube policy. But he did a video of him talking about this tragedy. And he basically said he said, I feel like something like this happens at least once a year, and I agree with him. It's so sad to think about that, man. Something like this can happen anywhere at any time. Scary, man. Scary. Um, it's just, it's. I mean, like, this is how we're gonna start off the new year. You know, it happened at 3:15 a.m. Only 3 hours and 15 minutes after midnight. So everyone was happy, partying until this happened. And then later that day, I went to Twitter or X. And let me tell you, I've seen a lot of crazy clips on X. And I saw the footage of the white truck speeding through Bourbon Street or the intersection or whatever. And wow, wow. And I read that the suspect or the shooter was from Texas, South Texas, near Houston. And it said on Wikipedia he was traveling on Interstate 10, heading eastbound to New Orleans. And guess what? The party that I went to, I was traveling on Interstate 10, but I was going westbound to the party and eastbound on the way back home. It's wild, man. It's some wild stuff. Like at the party, I was having a good time, because it's been like 10 years since I've gone out. I know they say going out on New Year's Eve night is dangerous. I get that, but luckily, like I said, the traffic was well. But I came back home before midnight, so it's it's hard to put into words, on what you just heard or saw of this tragedy, you know. And that is why they postponed the All-State Sugar Bowl to the next day, which I believe was the right thing to do. So instead, they were showing Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt, an early edition, and I was listening to his show. He's really great. So, and I was also the Paul Feinbaum show did a special 1 hour yesterday and today because he's actually at the Superdome for the game. Yeah, it's just wild, man. It just had to happen. It just had to happen on the first day of the year at New Orleans. Every year they have a big party. Because, I'm sure a lot of you guys know how New Orleans is. They like to party. You know, I've been on Bourbon Street before, but not. I've never been there. I've never been on that street for New Year's and for Mardi Gras. One year it was part of our vacation, and yeah, people stay up all night. People stay up all night partying and drinking. I'm not a drinker. I don't drink alcohol, even though I'm old enough to drink alcohol. But that's not what I do. So it's crazy, man. And that hotel, there's a hotel. What is the intersection? I believe it's Canal and Bourbon Street. There's a hotel near that intersection or right next to that intersection, and that was a hotel I stayed at back in 2018 summer for our vacation. Yeah, it's my thoughts are with all those people, man. Their families and friends. I mean, like, it's nuts. This is why I don't do stuff like this. I don't go out into big crowds like that. especially if it's outside. You're all you can all those people. You're just squeezing through. That's not me, man. I'm not into that stuff. It's it's so sad. And too bad the Saints and the Pelicans, they're trash teams. They're not good teams this year. And after I heard and read the news of all that, that's like I can't even say Happy New Year after that. Like I mentioned, I have friends that are younger than me. Oh wait, no, I don't think I mentioned that in this video. I must have mentioned it in my calendar video that I was recording. But some friends said Happy New Year to me in text messages, and I didn't get a chance to respond back to them because I'm in the middle of live streaming on my main channel. And then I was going to say Happy New Year to them back the next day, but that's when I heard the news, what happened in New Orleans. So that's why I didn't say Happy New Year. How how can I say Happy New Year after that? If I live far away from New Orleans, okay, I would still say Happy New Year, but we live like an hour away from that city, a city that we've all been to before, me and my friends. I mean, it was a Happy New Year for me, but for those people, man, nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. I'm sorry, this is kind of a sad episode, but listen, it's gonna be like this from time to time. I'm gonna do a sad episode, but you're not gonna see me cry. I hope not to cry on camera, but sometimes when there's sad news that involves in sports, it's big news to talk about. The last episode I talked about the passing of Greg Gumbel, legendary CBS sports announcer. We're gonna hear a great sports legend passing away. It's like that. But this was just absolute unbelievable. But at the same time, like what Jamal said, or Jamel, that video that I was watching of him talking about it, he said something. I feel like something like this happens at least once a year, and I agree with him. And that if you read the news and saw the videos or pictures or whatever, the truck had that flag on the back. And you know what I was wearing? I was wearing my USA hat during New Year's Eve. I'm like, yeah, USA all the way. I love the USA. Look, we got a flag right there. I know USA has a lot of problems, but I'm still happy to live in the country. I wish we could have more people like that. I know the state of Louisiana has a lot of problems as well, but I've been living here my whole life. It's like I'm used to it. I don't like the summer because it's so hot, but I'm used to it. All right, I think I've said enough. To the playoff games. I missed a lot of the first one because I stayed up all night. Between Texas and Arizona State, I actually picked Arizona State to win just because they might surprise us. I can see them winning that game, but I had them as a very low confidence. Okay, but I had a feeling Texas would win, and I looked at the box score or the game summary on ESPN.com on who scored when, which team scored when. Texas was winning 24-8 in the fourth quarter, and somehow Arizona State scored two touchdowns with the 2-point conversions. That's 16 points. So just like that, Arizona State tied up the game. They did. They tied up the game. So I was like, wow. But then the game went into overtime. I'm not a fan of the overtime rules. It really should be like NFL overtime rules, playoff style, That would be better. Because these players, they want to play in the National Football League, right? So why not have NFL overtime rules? But then Texas, they survived. They if they were to lose that game, their fans would be pissed off. So the next game after that was the Rose Bowl. That was the game that I was most interested in watching it because it was a rematch between Ohio State and Oregon. It was a huge matchup. This was Oregon's first year in the Big Ten, undefeated. Last year they were in the Pac-12 because normally the Rose Bowl is a Big Ten team against a Pac-12 team. So people keep forgetting that Oregon's in the Big Ten. So like, oh, we get Oregon versus Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. That's like the perfect Rose Bowl matchup. But the weird thing was that was the quarterfinal. The Oregon, the best team in the country according to the committee, played against Ohio State, a very hot Ohio State team. And that wasn't even in the semifinals. That was a quarterfinal game. And I heard people don't like that. They have a problem with the seedings, and I get it. Ohio State's number 8. Are they really the 8th best team in the country? No, they're probably the 4th or 3rd best team in the country. But no, instead you have Boise State and Arizona State. No disrespect to those teams, but Ohio State's better than them. So that's why the seedings should change. Okay. Oh, by the way, I forgot about the New Year's Eve night game between Penn State and Boise State. I didn't watch any of that because I went out to a New Year's party. However, while I was driving there, which took about 30 minutes, I was listening to the game on radio, on Mad Dog Sports Radio. It was the Penn State radio announcers. I actually picked Boise State to win, but I had a feeling Penn State would win. So that was also another one of my low confidence. But sometimes Penn State, they can't win the big ones, but they've won this big one. So the Rose Bowl, man. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit on the call. They're usually doing that game. And, man, Ohio State off to a fantastic start in the first half. It was 34-0 in the second quarter. Wow. Crazy. My gosh. I watched their first game. What was it, back in October? Ohio State against Oregon in Eugene, Oregon, where Ohio State ran out of time. They lost by 1 point. I thought Ohio State would win that game, but they didn't. I think they were going to. They were going to try and set up the game-winning field goal, but they ran out of time. This is obviously a different team. As Booger McFarland would say from last year's Selection Sunday show, no team's the same from start to finish, and he's right. No team's the same. So I picked Ohio State to win, so I'm glad they won. I usually cheer who I pick, okay? Because I really don't have a favorite team or a least favorite team. But when I was growing up, I was a big LSU fan. But recent years, not as much. So the Rose Bowl was Ohio State all the way. They advance, and they'll be playing against Texas in the Cotton Bowl next Friday or Saturday. I forget. But it's in a week from today or tonight. So, excuse me. The All-State Sugar Bowl was supposed to happen last night, or Wednesday night. I say last night because I'm recording this on a Thursday night. I'm going to release this Friday. But because they decided to postpone the game, they showed Scott Van Pelt Sports Center, an early edition. And if you're watching this video, if you look right there, look, that is the Allstate Sugar Bowl logo. There it is. My brother actually got that. He actually went to an Allstate Sugar Bowl back when he was in high school, which was in the late 2000s. I think it was the one where Alabama played against Utah. So, yeah, he was there. He was in the marching band. Yeah, or something like that. I forget, but that's where he got it from. So they postponed the Sugar Bowl to until Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. The reason why it wasn't Thursday night was because there was already a bowl game on Thursday night between Ole Miss and Duke. Like, how many people are going to watch that bowl game? That's like another worthless bowl game. But they don't want to have both bowl games at the same time, because if y'all notice, these playoff games, they're on more than one channel. So you got ESPN, the main broadcast. ESPN2 would be the command center or the field pass. ESPN News would be the Skycam. SEC Network would be, I think, one of the radio announcers. So yeah, you can watch the game would be on 4 different networks. They're gonna do the same thing with the semifinal matchups and the national championship game. So they really had no choice but to have it on Thursday afternoon. So I had work on Thursday, but that's okay. I have the SiriusXM app, so I can listen to the game on radio, and that's what I did on the way back home. And then I watched some of the fourth quarter. I saw that Notre Dame was leading, and I actually picked Notre Dame to win, only because Georgia didn't have their starting quarterback, Carson Beck, injured. That's a huge loss. And I was listening to the Notre Dame radio announcers, and there was a time where, what was it, towards the end of the first half, Georgia fumbled, and Notre Dame recovered the ball, and then they scored a touchdown. They're like, oh my gosh! It's kind of funny. So that game just ended. As of me recording this, Notre Dame gets the victory. So yeah, all four teams that got a first round bye have been eliminated. Why am I not surprised? I don't think that's ever happened in the NFL, where all the bye teams lost on the same weekend. Like I said, look, this is the first year with the 12-team playoff format, and all 4 teams with a bye lost. I wonder if that's a change that the committee needs to make. It really shouldn't be 12. It should be 8 teams. I've been saying that for years. When they had the 4-team playoff format, why can't it be 8? And why are you going from 4 to 12? You don't want to try 8 first and then 12? It should have been 8. It really should have been 8. But I think probably in the future they'll expand it to 16. And if they do that, I'll be fine with that, because no team would get a bye. But I hope it's not like 24. No thank you. Or 32. We don't need like a March Madness football edition. No thank you. All right. So yeah, guys, we are approaching 30 minutes, so I guess that is it. Gonna wrap this up. This is also the last week of the National Football League regular season, so the playoffs will begin next weekend. So that's it. I'll be back on Monday to talk about what I know, what I saw on this weekend. Oh man, what a crazy 2025 we have started. I really hope you guys staying safe and well. And yeah, have a great new year. I'll see you guys on Monday. Peace out. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.